Yes, sir. I'm saying there's a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to see some great things coming forward. We have the announcements for the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake for Snake Eater. And with that, there was an article in IGN for Japan that talked about possibility of multiplayer. To stay tuned. That's what the spokesperson has said. And today we're going to dive down that rabbit hole, get into the conversation, and talk about what we think and feel and know about Metal Gear Online. If you're excited for this, feel free to show support. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment of what is your favorite MGO. And we'll get into MGO in general as well. For those that don't know, Metal Gear Solid is, in my opinion, the greatest video game series of all time for its story. And it's an amazing experience. Not a lot of people know that there is a multiplayer online aspect, and you're watching some of the trailers in the background of that game multiplayer. There's different versions that's been out for different games, and it's possible that this remake will get one as well. Those that are not in Japan is very loving of this online component, as well as I am and many of us in the MGO community. So it's exciting to hear that there's a possibility of some type of multiplayer for the remake. That'll be very fun. With that in mind, I want to break down what MGO is like, and then talk about the possibilities of exactly what we will end up getting from this multiplayer. Originally, the original multiplayer actually came out with the remake. The remake was Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and then when they decided to add this multiplayer, this is what you've seen. All right, the subsistence allowed us to experience the multiplayer. It was very cool because you can play as some of the main characters in the game. You can also compete in team deathmatch, capture. There's a bunch of different modes in that game, and this was back when multiplayers just started actually really kicking off. And this game had a unique experience. It's a third-person game. There is some stealth elements to it, a lot of action as well, and it's just a really fun time that you can have with other players. You can play a match where whoever gets the most kills after a round will end up being Ocelot, and so on and being the top characters from different factions. Was such a special treat. So that's something that made the game unique and very special. They also had the sneaking mission, which is personally one of my favorites, where you play as Snake and you're trying to take out enemies as they fight each other. That came out in part 2, and it was very special. Now we are in the modern times, guys, and it's a new day. To be honest with you guys, there's too much new mechanics that could be implemented into the game, so hopefully we'll see some of that. And we're gonna fast forward here to let you guys see modern day MGO, which is part 3, Metal Gear part 3, and they had a lot of good gameplay mechanics as far as the characters' movement, the diving ability, and certain things like that. But you got to understand that part 1 and part 2 had strafing, which was something that nowadays games use to peek around corners and do certain tactical aspects that are very special. So this game has offered a lot of innovation in the multiplayer aspect and in shooters in general, and I'm excited to see what new elements Konami will provide to us for that. All right, there's no guarantees that this is coming. They said stay tuned for news about the multiplayer, and I don't think they would have said that without having some type of aspects to it. Okay, will we get a remake of the same game modes from the original, or will we get an upgraded version with the newer designs as going forward? For those in the community, you guys must, if you played all of them, you're like me. MGO2 was the premium because it had the most modes, the most features, it had in-game tournaments, in-game rewards for the tournaments, and so much more that made it very, very special to everybody that got to experience it. And I believe if they going to remake it, that would be the way to go with all of those features. Now, part one, like I said, was the originator that really was amazing, and I wouldn't mind that as well. What I will say, and the reason I'm making this video, is to talk with the community. Would you like to see crossplay? I think that would be a special feature that the game absolutely needs to be able to have longevity. And then also adding free to play. I think that if they can make it so that the game is free to play, it'll bring in more people into the community, and it will be so much better for everybody, in my opinion, as someone who understands that free to play tends to help gravitate a community to get bigger. So we'll see if that's something that Konami has planned. Again, all of this is speculation. The only actual information that we have is that you need to stay tuned for news about the multiplayer. So that is interesting to me, but again, take it with a grain of salt, because there's no guarantees on what is or isn't happening in that game. So, but I have my hopes high. And again, if you guys don't know, I have hosted tournaments for MGO, and if this does get announced, we will be gladly bringing that back and giving you guys some really great stuff. And hopefully Konami can do some esports events as well officially. I do end up having the pleasure of having prizes and things like that, and hopefully working with Konami for this as well. So down below, I would just like to hear your thoughts. If you're new and don't know about the online multiplayer, tell me your thoughts about from the video you're watching now to the information you're hearing. What are your thoughts? Are you excited? Do you want to do that, or are you just strictly interested in the Metal Gear Solid remake? And for those that are veterans and into the game, I know you will be excited to hear the news. How much hopes do you have? Let's get some percentages going. Do you believe this news is going to give us a multiplayer? Percentage 80% right now. My faith is realistically 70, but if I had to use my hope, would be 100% that we get this, and we shall see. Right, it's gonna be an exciting time. I'd like to thank you guys for listening, watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you soon.